Good morning, it's Martha Blessing, and welcome to this week's live training. Today, I am talking about a topic that has come through recently. I started to channel from Grayson, which is a group of healing guides that I channel. I started to channel about compassion, and I actually did a live stream earlier this week about it when on the day that it came through. And what's happened since is that it just keeps, hey Alita, how are you? Nice to see you. Thanks for being here. What started to happen the last few days since I channeled this information about compassion and healing from Grayson is that, the guides have been just kind of poking at me to continue to go deeper with it and to meditate on it and to go further. And so that is exactly what's happened. And it's what I'm talking about today. And that is compassion as a tool for self-healing. Please feel free to type your questions into the comments, and I will be happy to answer any of your questions. Okay. So, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Martha Blessing. I am a healing mentor and an intuitive personal coach, and I help women unpack the physical, mental, emotional, energetic, spiritual blocks and barriers and obstacles that are causing anxiety and depression and all of the cluster of symptoms that goes with those things. The insomnia, the adrenal fatigue, the digestive disorders, the migraines, all of those symptoms that create our illness and left unchecked continue to degrade the quality of our life and the value of our health and us showing up in the world as we came here to be. So, expanding on the live stream that I did earlier in the week, the real question to start out is understanding the nature and the causes of anxiety. Okay, I want to start with that. Because once you understand this, you'll understand how and why this tool is so simple and easy and valuable, and it empowers you. Like there's nothing that you need to do but to just do this. It really, truly works. So, number one, anxiety is an energetic imbalance. If you know me or you've listened to any of my talks or trainings, you know that I will tell you that it is actually a gift. It is energy trying to move within your body, and it's been created by an imbalance. So understand that you're an energy container. You literally are, like we think we're all this other stuff. We're literally a container of energy, and you do have complete control over what energy comes into this body and what energy goes out of it, what you hold in way of your thoughts, your beliefs, like all of this stuff is it's in our control. It may be challenging, but is totally within our control. Okay. So it's about shifting that energy, shifting the belief, shifting the mindset, and not feeling that the answer to healing, and specifically anxiety and depression, is outside yourself. It's all in here, and you have that ability to manage that energy. The key question you have to ask yourself is, are you willing to accept responsibility for it? That's where the power is. To say, I accept 100% responsibility for this. Now you have to make choices that are in alignment for you and your healing and your self-care. Okay, so that's another piece. What creates the imbalance? What creates this energetic imbalance? I touched on that just a moment ago, just a little bit. So it's thoughts, feelings, emotions, guilt, shame. Those are big ones, right? Fear, self-doubt. For many people, it is some kind of a trauma that they've experienced. That all of these things, events and programming, they are we're allowing our brain and our emotions to take events, take things, and to continue to recirculate it over and over and over again, right? Energetically. We know that thoughts are a thing, right? Like when we get hooked up to an EEG in Western medicine, it's an electroencephalogram. They're measuring the actual energy and electricity of the brain. So we know that our thoughts are energy. And when we mix those with the events and the feelings, when we attach a feeling to it, that's what creates this pattern. It creates an actual physical pattern, barriers and blocks within our body. And that's what causes the anxiety. That's, depending on where it is, whether it's, good morning, Kimberly, whether it's in our solar plexus, in our digestive tract, in the form of like butterflies, whether it's in our heart because it's turning against ourselves, not loving ourselves, having grief, having some kind of emotion that we're holding that is continuing to play over and be uncomfortable. Whether it's in our throat, having not been able to speak or choosing not to, out of fear, being able to speak. These are all of the elements that go into causing the experience of energy to be trapped in our body. Okay, so how do we change this? You got to unpack it. That's why the meds don't work, because it just dampers down the emotion. It's like a hammer on the emotion, the meds, but the energy is still in there. The core cause and the imbalance is still in there, and it's moving around, and it's trying to come up. It's your soul trying to communicate with you to heal it. It's actually a gift. So one of the things that I do is I do readings with clients. I call it the Unpack It session. And it's an intuitive session, and it's to help you get to the exact cause of where your imbalance is. I happen to have the gift, it's my zone of genius, as an intuitive and a channel, to be able to focus on the exact energetic places in your body where the imbalances are and what the cause is. And so I will get messages about that. If that's something that you're interested in, please reach out to me. You can either go onto my website and actually schedule one, or if you have more questions, please message me on Facebook, or get in touch with me through email at martha@marthablessing.com. And I am more than honored to help you unpack that so you can start moving towards those pieces. Okay. So what happens? We start to have all of these pieces, the mental, the emotional, the fears, all of this stuff, and it continues to ruminate. It continues to recycle and recycle and recycle in our heart, in our body, in our thoughts, in our mind. And we just said energy follows thought. Energy follows thought. It creates a pattern. The good news is we can mess up that pattern. And I've used this analogy before. It's like if you're going to, you can go to work, right? And you're on automatic pilot. You drive the same place from home to work every single day. And you can do it with your eyes shut. You know that feeling like you kind of like wake up and you go, I don't even remember driving home, right? Because it's so automatic. These are the pathways of our thoughts and our emotions that we continue to put against ourselves with self-judgment. And so to create a shift and to create a new program, what we've done is we've actually created pathways, neural pathways, with this repetitive ruminating thoughts and energy. And the detour, if you were to go to work and all of a sudden there's a road closed detour, that's what we're doing by taking this idea of compassion and shifting the energy and breaking up these patterns in this energy. that has been created by the self-judgment and the ruminating thoughts that's focused on the events that have happened. Okay? Is this making sense? If you guys grasping this, let me know. Type something in the comments and let me know. And if you have any questions, type them in. So, when we're in self-judgment, the aspect that creates the anxiety, that creates the imbalance and the block and the illness and the symptoms is that the thought gets married with a feeling. Okay, this is the path out. It's that feeling. It's not a good feeling. Thank you. Thank you, Kimberly and Alita. It's not a good feeling, right? When we're in that ruminating, negative, self-deprecating judgments, and we all do this. But for many people, it's the empaths and the sensitives and feeling weird and all that kind of stuff, right? But everybody does this, and it's causing all of this anxiety. So it creates a negative, when we're in self-judgment, it creates a negative emotion. We start to feel bad about ourselves, our body. I mean, this is truly, when they talk about stress creating illness, this is what creates illness. We think negatively about ourselves. Our body hears it. It listens to every thought we have, and it responds, and it follows the energy, and it follows the emotion. And what happens is, it's like thought by thought by thought, it's shutting down our life force. It's shutting down all of the joy and the goodness that is naturally in us, right? And it constricts the frequency of love. It constricts self-love and self-compassion right into the cells. Like, it goes right into our cells. Candace Pert wrote Molecules of Emotion, great book. And she talks about this, right? What this effect has, these molecules of emotion, what the effect is on our body and our health. So this is how we're creating the illness. So what's the really logical, rational, and it's so simple, the solution? Stop doing it, right? Because then we get in this cycle of beating ourselves up because we're having these self-deprecating negative emotions and thoughts, right? There's a release in that. So how do we heal it? It's through this practice of compassion. And it's really sweet how this came about. Grayson will, again, channel whatever is kind of in the moment. And really, this was just a personal aspect of my life. And then he was, the guides were saying, no, you need to take this deeper and expand this. But this really started because a friend brought me, he owns a tea store, Rob the tea guy, and he owns a tea store. He brought me an oolong tea that is called Thai Kuan Yin. And I happen to have Kuan Yin statues like all over my house, who is the Hindu goddess of compassion. And as I made this cup of tea and I looked, I was looking at the package and I was focusing on Kuan Yin, on this goddess of compassion. And I was like, literally I have this cup of tea and I'm drinking in, metaphorically, this energy of compassion. Like, literally, I'm drinking it again this morning. It's really been a great week with this tea. So drinking in this compassion for myself and for all of life. So with each sip, this meditation started to come through of just drinking the tea and breathing in this energy of compassion and Kuan Yin. And it was like, how much could I fill myself up? How much compassion could I just in this moment take for myself, to where I'm short-circuiting any thoughts and emotions and feelings that I have that I'm creating against myself in judgment. And that loving kindness towards ourselves is the exact path out of anxiety and depression. It is a path to reprogram the neural pathways that we've created with negative thoughts and negative emotions, right? A lot of people have heard me teach on this idea, um, of getting into your heart center and getting balanced, right? And creating a new frequency and new energy with the love meditation. And that we can't shut off our minds. We cannot quiet our minds. The path to healing and meditation is not to quiet our minds, because the mind is always, always going. Even when we're sleeping, we're dreaming and the mind is active. And so I'm always teaching people about just giving it a different point of focus so that you're not having consistent ruminating negative thoughts. This process of taking in compassion and drawing in compassion for yourself is that same process. It's very, very hard when you're having a negative thought or you're having consistent, repeated negative thoughts. They're coming in and they're getting locked into your energy and your emotions. And then the focus is, oh, let me stop doing that. And the more you try to stop doing it, the more you're focused on it, right? So this is the same thing. That pathway out is to practice this compassion. And you guys know me, I'm always saying we become what we practice. So if you practice this process of compassion, you will become it. It will shift. Just in these couple of days that I've been really meditating and focused on this, like my whole life is changing, right? It's so simple. The healing doesn't have to be that hard. We make it so goddamn hard, and it's not. It's showing up and doing these things. And back to the beginning, what I said about accepting responsibility for ourselves and saying, I'm going to do this and create this new pathway, this new programming for you. Okay. So I'm going to tell you how to do this in a second. I'm going to guide you through it. When you practice this, you will be in shifting your energy on a cellular level. On a cellular level, get this, like the stored memories that are creating the anxiety, that are wanting to come up and come out and get your attention, you're programming those cells. Whether it's your heart, your solar plexus, your throat, your mind, like you're breaking up that pattern on a cellular level. Okay? It opens your heart energy, which we know that the heart is the path to healing as well. And it balances your overall, this container of energy that we are. It balances it because now you're not spending as much time in your head with these thought patterns. You're in your body, you're in your heart. So it begins to create this new pathway, and it dissolves the old patterns and the old energy. So they don't need to scream at you in the form of anxiety. Okay. So I want to guide you through this practice for just a minute or two. And there's another video I did earlier in the week. You can look at that too. So close your eyes, take a few breaths, plant your feet on the floor. And just become aware of your breath. Just your breathing. Don't try to force anything. Just become aware of your breathing. Feel the air going in and out of your nostrils. And then on your next in-breath, allow yourself to think of whomever, whatever might be in your eyes, a female figure of compassion. Could be Mother Mary, it could be your own mother, a grandmother, it could be Kuan Yin, a Hindu goddess of compassion. Whatever is something that when you close your eyes and you take a few breaths and you think of connecting to this figure or to this person, that it's like someone just going, and giving you this like peace and feeling of love, having been loved, and someone who is compassionate and understanding. So draw that into your awareness, into your mind's eye, and allow yourself to bring that in and to continue to focus on your breathing. And then on your next in breath, while you have that sense and that feeling of that person with the compassion, it's the feeling of compassion that they give you, of kindness and lovingness. Bring your attention into your heart center and just let your heart, like your breath and your heart and that feeling marry. And then imagine in each breath, as you draw in a breath, that you're just drawing in like a sponge this energy of self-compassion and self-love. Like there's nothing you could have ever said or done that could take you away from being in this moment of compassion. Compassion for yourself, forgiving yourself. Like just breathe that in. And then as you exhale, if there's any events, if there's any, like, just whatever judgments you've held, just for this moment, exhale and let it go and go, you know what? I'm still here. I'm still alive. Like, just let it go. It hasn't killed me. Like, why do I want to keep focusing on this judgment and resentment and shoulda, coulda, woulda, whatever? Just let it go. And then take another breath in. Compassion. Allow yourself to just take these breaths while you're focusing on this image and this feeling. Like, just accept yourself in this moment and just say, wow, whatever it was, I'm going to just love myself right now. You might go back and pick it back up. Who knows? But in this moment, it's like, just let it go. There's nothing wrong with you. Just to have compassion for yourself, a gentle dose of compassion towards yourself in this moment. Just keep breathing it in. And you can even affirm, I have compassion for myself in this moment. Because you cannot stay in judgment against yourself and expect to hold a healing vibration of health and vitality at the same time. It's not possible. It's not possible. Get that. The more times you do this and enter into a state of love and compassion for yourself, you diffuse the energy of that judgment, of going against yourself. You cannot go against yourself and try to heal. It's impossible. The two energies cannot align. All healing starts with the ability to direct loving energy towards yourself. So that's what this process is to continue to breathe in loving energy. And exhale. I no longer judge myself for the past. I release and let go. I send it back out to the cosmos. I forgive myself for any judgments or things that I might have done or said that just seemed stupid or screwed up in the moment. I let it go. Okay. So that is the process. Um, how does it feel? Just for those few minutes, you can type it in the comments. How did it feel to actually just, you know, stop for a moment and breathe in some love and some compassion for yourself and to break that cycle? It's really calming and soothing, right? It shifts everything. So what I suggest and how you do this, right? This is how you diffuse energy. This is how you diffuse the anxiety. This is how you diffuse, depression. The anxiety is the energy, the excess and the overactive energy, usually from like the solar plexus up. Depression is the energy of energy imbalance that goes hand in hand with it sometimes, in that the root chakra is deficient. Okay, there's like no energy in that lower from the pelvic floor down. Why is that? Well, if we're carrying grief in our heart, if we're carrying judgment in our solar plexus, and shooting all over ourselves with negative thoughts and not being good enough and having unworthiness and shame and guilt and doubt, fears all stored there, and we're actively ruminating about this stuff, and then the mind is going around and we're not speaking and having boundaries, right? So there's not enough energy for our right to be here in our root chakra, which is where depression comes from. Really, the core, and I'll be talking about this more in the next upcoming weeks, the core cause of depression is this deficiency in the root chakra, but it's shame. Shame is just, it's what creates depression. It will kill you. It will. It will kill your life force, which eventually will make you sick and sick and sick and sick. It will shut down everything. So again, that is my zone of genius, and getting to these feelings, emotions, events, things that are stuck in your body that are causing these energetic imbalances that in turn are creating the anxiety and depression. That's my zone of genius, and I can focus on in my unpack it sessions the exact cause of where you're blocked, what's causing it, where you need to focus, what you need to focus on to shift, create a new neural pathway. That's what I do in these sessions. So please don't struggle and suffer. This is so much easier to heal than you realize. Yeah, Oleda, it is. Emotional pain. I mean, isn't it wonderful? And look how easy that was. Like, it only took a couple of minutes. We hold so much emotional pain. That's where the anxiety and the depression comes from. It truly is. So the more we do this process, now, a lot of times we're, again, back on ruminating on this like one thing, right? Whatever your emotional pain is, you have latched onto that and started ruminating about it over and over again. So it's created that neural pathway. It served you for a reason for a time. It served to protect you, but you don't, maybe it was when you were a child, whatever, but you're an adult now. And so you can take this and unpack this. Again, that's what I do in the readings, is get out of it and unpack it so that you'll know what the exact cause is and be aware. And, once you bring it into the light of day, it starts to dissolve. So, Here's what I suggest. So there's two ways that you could do this. Use this, incorporate this. Again, we become what we practice. There's two ways to incorporate this. One is add it to your morning practice. People may be going, what's a morning practice? Glad you asked. Self-care. It's not manis and petties. It's not a glass of red wine. It's not brownies and chocolate cake. It's your commitment and your devotion to having a spiritual practice that engages you to go inside and get in touch with your true self, your higher self, with your soul. If you're not already on my email list, you need to go, I will leave a link below. There is a meditation that I will send you when you sign up for it that is a guided healing experience to connect you to your higher self. That is step one. That is the very beginning of healing, is learning how to connect to your true self, to your higher self, and starting to let that come up and come out. So I suggest, number one, that you get that. Number two, you develop a self-care and a spiritual practice. We become what we practice. So people who work with me privately know this, and they develop a spiritual practice. I teach them and guide them how to do that. So you can add this to, or if you don't have one, you can start now and make this part of your morning routine. What did that take when we were going through it? It was all of 5 minutes. If you're not giving yourself 5 minutes, and mind you, this is different than just listening to meditations. The meditation that I have is, I don't even like using the word meditation. It's a guided experience to actually take you inside yourself and connect with that higher self. A lot of people listen to meditations to calm down, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's very good and it's beneficial. But there's a difference between that, right? Because your brain is focused on listening to the meditation. It's not taking you inside like what we just did. Get that? There's a difference between the two. So this piece of what we did just today, moments ago, 5 minutes. Like if you can't give yourself 5 minutes, quite honestly, you're screwed. You won't heal. You won't. You've got to make this commitment to yourself. Stop screwing around. Okay? So that's a piece of it. You can do it for 5 minutes as your morning practice. Quite honestly, I love doing it with my cup of tea. Like I will sit and I will draw in, and I literally think of my tea as being like this sips of compassion. Okay? It's just another little added bonus and tool. Is it Romana? Yes and no, it will. If you just joined, you have to go back and listen for a few minutes from the beginning. Go back and listen to the whole, because I went through some of that, like how the anxiety and how the root chakra happens. The root chakra, your root chakra isn't actually blocked. It's that there isn't enough energy down there. There isn't enough, it's deficient, okay? So when you have shame, and I get this because that's my whole path and my history was sexual abuse. You can read my book and find out about healing that as well. It's up on my website at marthablessing.com. Let me unpack this for you. So your root chakra is not blocked. It's that there's not enough life force and not enough energy coming to it. Okay? The shame is a different aspect of it. What's happening is you create a thought pattern, right? When you have shame, The shame is actually, so here's what happens like with abuse and molestation, right? There is some grief in your heart that constricts the energy that's allowed to get in, right? So you're a divine being. If you allow all of your energy centers to be open and to flow like they are supposed to, we're supposed to take the earth energy up, our right for being here and living with joy and health and vitality and stepping into our purpose. And we take that spiritual energy down and they meet in our heart, right? It's the bridge between the two, the tangible and the spiritual energy. And I know this from abuse and from the shame. There is tremendous amount of grief that gets carried in our heart center because of the experience and for not being protected and for being perpetrated in that way. So the grief is in our heart, which slows down and congests the energy. And then it can't get through, and we can't develop a strong solar plexus of self-worth and self-esteem. Right here, when this block goes up, when this wall goes up, and this protection starts to wall us off, and the shame continues to ruminate over and over again, it's created the neural pathway and it's taken on this entity and life of its own. It's in your field and then it's in your body. Okay. So the process, the process of doing this compassion, it's taking you into your heart. It's helping you to create a feeling of self-love. It's helping you to create some compassion for yourself. You'll have to do a little bit more work of unpacking all of this. It is a little bit of work. It is simple, quite honestly. You have to stick with it. But this is certainly the beginning. And also, there's a couple of things I would suggest. Number one, please reach out to me. You can send me an email from my website at marthablessing.com, or you can message me. There are a lot of tools. This is part of what I teach people in my Divine Healing Body Freedom Blueprint, is the actual process of doing this step by step by step by step. It's the methodology that I have taught people for 2 decades. So the other piece of it is, Romana, is getting into, there's a meditation on my website called the Love Meditation. You don't have to buy that. It's not expensive, but also get the free guided healing experience, because part of this pathway to healing in this tool is to begin to connect with your true self, right? This abuse has taken on its own identity. Yeah, Reiki is wonderful. There's nothing wrong with Reiki. I just want to say this about that. Moving energy is so vitally important and imperative, but where the real true, and I've been an energy healing practitioner, I've been a certified healing touch practitioner for 20 years, and it helped me tremendously. The real healing starts to happen. It's not outside you, right? And a lot of people, that's why I do the work I do. A lot of people, like when we have abuse, we're actually afraid to go back in. We're afraid to actually go into ourselves and see ourselves because we think we're dirty and nasty and all this judgment, all this crap. And so, but that's where the healing happens. If all we do is the Reiki and the healing touch and move energy, but the energy, you got to get to the core cause. The energy is stuck because we're having these repetitive thoughts and this mindset. These neural pathways have created this energy entity. It's shutting down our actual life force. So the way to do that is to get into our heart, number one, with these tools, with this compassion, and to then also get inside and actually see who we are. Like how I reversed fibromyalgia, and I was in a wheelchair. I mean, I've done a lot. It was pretty traumatic. How I reversed that was with these tools and this meditation to actually see my soul, connect with my higher self. That's different than just moving energy. It's a two-part thing. Okay. Yeah, it's a subtle difference. Um, you become fully empowered when you go inward and start to see the beauty of your soul. And you start to really experience your own light. Too many times, this process of healing is let me make it go away, right? Like I gotta unblock my root chakra. What you really want to do is move towards everything with love, and that's what's going to dissolve it, with the love and the compassion. That frequency, you can't, you know, believe it or not, for whatever reason, this was part of your soul plan and it serves a purpose. And anytime we try to annihilate something, my example would be I had 3 surgeries, 3 back surgeries. Well, if surgery was the answer, why wasn't one enough? Why did it take 3? But when I started to actually take this love meditation and move towards it, and move towards the pain and move towards all these areas that were blocked, I dissolved them with love because that is our natural healing state. That's who we are. So when you go in and give yourself that frequency and make it a part of your spiritual practice, then you're not trying to have to push away. And the most empowered you will ever be as a human being is when you do this for yourself, when you go inside and you look for yourself. It's not about connecting to archangels and all of that kind of stuff. It's about finding it within inside yourself. Reiki is wonderful. It's a good tool. It's a good adjunct. But too many people, because I had a healing practice for many, many years, too many people would come and plop down on my table, and that's looking for all of the answers and solutions outside yourself. My work is to empower people to get everything they need from within inside themselves and to teach you how to do that. That's where the real healing is. So I hope that makes sense. And thank you so much for your questions, because there's millions of people just like yourself out there in this exact same place. So thank you. I honor your path. I honor your healing, and that you're doing the work. Thank you. So do this practice. Back to, you can do it in the morning as part of your self-care and your spiritual practice. Or what I also suggest that you do is when you catch yourself, remember, we cannot stop the mind. We cannot, if you go, oh, I'm having those negative thoughts and I'm trying to focus on stopping those negative thoughts, you won't be able to. You'll just keep chattering back and forth and it'll make you crazy. But you can redirect. So when you have a thought, when you are judging yourself, when you are not having love towards yourself, when you are beating yourself up for something, stop and do this for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, wherever you are. Don't be driving. Don't close your eyes when you're driving. You actually can do it while you're driving, but just you don't want to go as deep into it. You can certainly shift and say, I'm not going to continue to focus my thoughts and my energy that's going to feed. Thanks, Ramana. You just, in the moment, when you catch yourself, say, wait, stop. This is not what I want. This is not what I want. What do I want? I want to have love and compassion for myself. And then say, okay, what would be a better thing to focus on? And then just breathe in, focus on compassion. And say, oh, there I am, I'm judging myself. Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to be mean to myself? Right? Why would I want to be mean to myself? It's crazy. Why would we do that to ourselves? And for people who've had abuse, it's not you that screwed up, it's the other people. But it's not, you can't hold those negative thoughts against yourself. So in the moment, just breathe in. Think of Mother Mary, Kuan Yin, whatever it is. A grandmother, someone who is loving and kind and gentle, whatever that is, and just let me have compassion for this situation. Let me have compassion for myself. There's nothing I could have ever said or done that's that awful. And I love myself. And breathe in and just allow it to shift. 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Anytime you catch yourself having these, I'm stupid, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not, whatever, just stop and do this. It dissolves the fear. It dissolves the doubt. And it allows energetic frequencies into your heart center to open this up and expand. When this opens and expands, the energy can get down. It can get to your solar plexus. It can get to your sacral. You can start to bring creativity to the world. And then your root chakra starts to light up because you're excited about being here in the world and you have value and you have purpose and you have a reason for being. That's the purpose of the root chakra. Safety and security. I have a freaking right to be here, and this is what I came here to do. Make sense? Okay. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for your questions. I think we covered everything. Please reach out to me. Get an Unpack It session. Get in the blueprint. Get the love meditation. Get the guided experience. And if you need help, there's no reason to suffer and struggle. I'm here. And I will see you guys next week. I'll probably see you sooner. I've been doing a lot more live streams, but I will definitely see you every Wednesday here at 10 o'clock. And if you think of any questions after we hop off, please type them in the comments. If you're listening on the replay, type them in the comments, #replay. And thank you so much, and I will see you guys soon. Take care.